Welcome to the last video in Section 8. Let's test our REST API. In the previous video, we implemented a REST API for Tweet resource. And using the Postman REST client, we successfully implemented our test API. In this video, we will take a look at how to write test cases for our REST API. Let's start. First, we will add the Akka HTTP test kit module and Scala test in our dependencies. Now, let's start writing our tests. We will implement 4 test cases to read, create, delete, and get a tweet. Here is the test class that extends flat spec, must matches, Scala test root test, before and after all, and REST API. The REST API trait contains our roots. And here is the implementation for the after all method. It will drop a collection from DB after all tests are finished. Now, let's start writing a test case for the read. First, let's create a tweet using the save method from Tweet Manager. The save method will return future of created, so we will wait for the actual result to get the ID for the created tweet. Now, let's send a GET request to our root and check the response. Our response's status must be equal to OK and should contain a list of tweet entity. So, we will convert the response to a list of tweet entities. This list must contain one element, and this element must be equal to our created tweet. Let's run our test. Great! Now, let's test creating a tweet. We will send a post request, which contains a tweet. The response's status must be the created status code. Let's run. Excellent! Now, let's test delete a tweet. We will create a tweet using Tweet Manager. And get the tweet ID from the result. Then, let's send a delete request to our roots, and the response's status code must be equal to no content status code. Let's run. Great! Now, let's write the last test for reading a specific tweet. First, let's create a tweet using Tweet Manager and get a tweet ID from the result. Second, let's send a GET request to our roots, and the response's status code must be equal to the OK status code, and the response must contain a tweet, so we will read the response as tweet entity, and this must be equal to our created tweet. Let's run. Excellent! Of course, these tests are happy tests, but I think now you can complete all tests for our REST API. We are introduced to the Akka HTTP module and have discussed some topics on it, such as client API levels and server API levels. And we have implemented REST API. And finally, we are introduced to the Akka HTTP test kit module to test our REST API. See you in the last section on our Akka trip, working with common patterns in Akka.